I don't even know where to start. My sister, Lisa, just called me crying her eyes out, begging me for money. Turns out my husband, well, ex-husband now, left her high and dry with over $100,000 in debt, and she's desperate. The same sister who made my life hell, slept with my husband, and ruined my marriage, now wants me to bail her out. I just sat there, listening to her sob like she was the victim. Like she didn't do exactly what I warned her about. Like she wasn't the one who destroyed my life first. And the crazy part? A tiny, tiny part of me almost felt bad for her. Almost. I remembered everything. Lisa and I weren't always like this. Growing up, she was my best friend. I was the older one, but only by 2 years, so we were pretty close. We shared clothes, stayed up late talking about boys, covered for each other when we snuck out. She was the wild one, though. Always wanted attention, always had to be the center of everything. If I liked something, she had to have it. If I made a new friend, she'd charm them, and suddenly they were closer to her than me. But I let it slide. That's just how she was. I should have seen the red flags earlier, like in high school when she flirted with my boyfriend just to prove she could, or how she'd accidentally spill embarrassing things about me in front of people. I ignored it. I told myself, that's just Lisa. Then I met Brian. Brian was different. He made me feel safe, loved. He was charming, successful, and for the first time, I had something Lisa couldn't take from me. Or so I thought. Lisa was all over him from the start, but I was used to it by then. She had a boyfriend, so I figured it was harmless. She was just being her usual flirty self. Brian never seemed interested, and I trusted him. Biggest mistake of my life. After we got married, Lisa started having problems with her boyfriend. She needed a place to stay for just a few weeks. Brian wasn't thrilled about it, but I convinced him. She was my sister, after all. Family takes care of each other. Those few weeks turned into months. And somewhere in those months, Brian and Lisa started sleeping together. I had no idea. I was too busy working, trying to save up for a house, trying to start a family, and my own sister was sneaking around with my husband behind my back. I found out the worst way possible. I came home early from work one day, and Brian was in the shower. Nothing unusual. But Lisa was in my bedroom, wearing his t-shirt. I just knew. She tried to lie at first, but she's a terrible liar. Then she tried to blame me, said Brian told her I was neglecting him, that our marriage was already falling apart. I can't even describe how it felt, like my heart got ripped out of my chest. And Brian? He said he didn't mean for it to happen, but that he had real feelings for Lisa. I kicked them both out that night, filed for divorce the next week, cut Lisa off completely. I found out a few months later she was pregnant, Brian's baby. It was like the ultimate betrayal. My own sister was having a baby with my ex-husband. Fine, I was done. They deserved each other. I blocked them both, moved on with my life. It took years, therapy, and a lot of tequila, but I finally started to feel normal again. And now Lisa's calling me, begging me to help her. Apparently, Brian turned out to be a lying, cheating, money-sucking demon. He racked up a ton of debt, then ditched her and their kid for some younger woman, and now she's drowning. Creditors are after her, she might lose her apartment, and she has no one else to turn to. She wants me to save her. I almost laughed in her face. I told her, Lisa, I lost everything because of you. You made your bed. Lie in it. And I hung up. I barely slept that night. Lisa's voice keeps playing in my head, all shaky and desperate. I should be gloating, right? She ruined my life, and now karma's chewing her up. But instead, I'm sitting here, staring at my phone like an idiot, wondering if I should call her back. Maybe it's because, deep down, I know something she doesn't. Brian never really loved either of us. He played both of us. Our parents passed away a few years before all this mess. It was sudden, a car accident, and it wrecked me. Lisa too, though in her own way. She was always the reckless one, but after they died, she spiraled. Bad relationships, bad choices, drinking too much, anything to distract herself. Our parents left us a decent amount of money in their will. Nothing crazy, but enough to start over, buy a small house, or invest in something solid. They were always big on making sure we were secure. The money was split 50-50 between Lisa and me, but there was one condition. We couldn't touch it until we turned 30. They set it up in a trust because they knew Lisa had no self-control. Brian knew about the money. He found out when we were planning our future, back when we were happy. I remember telling him about it casually, like it wasn't a big deal. I even joked, "It's not like we can touch it anytime soon." But looking back, I swear something changed in his eyes when I said that, like a switch flipped. At first, I didn't think anything of it, but then all these little things started happening. Brian suddenly got really interested in our finances, started talking about how we should invest in things together. He'd bring up how hard it is to buy a house these days and how lucky we were to have that safety net. I thought he was just being a responsible husband. Turns out he was planning ahead. And Lisa? She was just a bonus. She was reckless, easy to manipulate. All he had to do was whisper the right things in her ear, make her feel special, and she was his. I know he made her feel like she was the better choice, that I was the boring, responsible one, while she was the fun, spontaneous one. And she fell for it. Hard. But here's the thing. Lisa didn't just fall for Brian. She trusted him with her money. I found out months later, long after I kicked them both out. Lisa called me out of nowhere, all cocky, saying Brian was going to take care of her, that they were going to buy a house together, start fresh. I laughed. Because, girl, she didn't even have access to her inheritance yet. We weren't 30. And Brian, that man had no money of his own. He needed Lisa to fund his lifestyle, and she let him. Lisa actually found a shady way to access part of her trust early. I don't know the details, but I know it wasn't legal. Some loophole, some bad advice, something stupid. I didn't care to ask, because whatever it was, I didn't want to know. As far as it didn't affect my trust, it was okay. I wanted to be as far away as possible to both of them. She pulled out almost everything before she was supposed to. And Brian? He burned through it in less than a year. Lavish trips. I began to see some of her videos of both of them traveling together, but I blocked their content. I wasn't interested. Expensive gifts, bad investments, gone. And when the money was gone, so was he. Lisa didn't know this when she called me yesterday, but I still have my half of the inheritance. I never touched mine. It's still sitting there, untouched, waiting for me. And I know that's exactly why she's calling now. Not just because she's struggling, not just because she's in debt. She knows I can fix her problems. And after everything she did to me, she thinks I owe her that. I don't. I didn't answer Lisa's calls for over a week, and she began showing up at my job. I swear, y'all, I almost threw my coffee in her face. She just walked in like we're friends, like she didn't wreck my life, like she wasn't the reason I had to rebuild myself from nothing while she was out playing house with my ex. I was at my desk, mid-email, when I looked up, and there she was. Looking a hot mess, by the way. Hair all over the place, dark circles under her eyes, clothes that screamed, "I haven't slept in days." For a split second, I felt bad. Then she opened her mouth. "We need to talk." Girl, I grabbed her arm and dragged her outside before my coworkers could start whispering. She barely let me say a word before she started begging. She started talking about how she knew she messed up and all, not my problem. He left me with all these bills. He maxed out my credit cards, took out loans in my name, and just disappeared. Again, not my problem. "I have a baby, Tyron, your nephew. Please." And there it was. She said it like it was supposed to change everything. Like I'd suddenly forget all the pain she put me through because, oh, there's a baby involved now. I just crossed my arms and stared at her. "What do you want from me, Lisa?" She wiped her face, took a deep breath like she was about to say something reasonable. "I need some of your inheritance money." Y'all, I almost laughed. The audacity. I just stood there, stunned. I mean, I knew she was calling me for help, but I thought she wanted a place to crash, a few groceries, maybe a loan, which I wasn't going to give. But no, this girl actually came to me, face full of tears, asking me to hand over thousands of dollars like it was nothing. My money. The same money Brian was waiting for before he found a faster way to rob someone blind. She must have seen the look on my face because she got desperate real fast. "I'll pay you back, as soon as I get back on my feet. You know I'm good for it." "No, Lisa, I do not know that." "We're family, please." She only remembers that now, after all these years, after stealing my husband and ruining my life. Oh, but wait, it gets worse. When I told her no, she lost her damn mind. She went from begging to angry real quick. "So that's it? You're just gonna let me struggle? You're just gonna sit on that money while your own nephew has nothing?" Excuse me? I saw red. I took a deep breath, so close to cussing her out right there on the sidewalk, but I kept my voice calm. You made your choice, Lisa. You picked Brian over me, and now you want me to clean up your mess? Nah, not happening. She shook her head like I was the monster. You're so selfish. Oh, I'm selfish. I lost everything because of her. I had to start my whole life over while she was living in my dream, with my husband, spending my stolen future. And now, I'm the selfish one. She stormed off after that, cussing under her breath. I went back inside, tried to finish my work, but I couldn't focus. My hands were shaking. Because deep down, I know she's not done. She's desperate, and desperate people do crazy things. I just don't know what she's going to pull next. I should have known Lisa wouldn't take no for an answer, but I never expected her to pull this. Y'all, this woman went behind my back and called my bank. So, a couple of days after she showed up at my job, I thought she finally got the message. She hadn't called, no texts, no showing up unannounced. I even started to relax, thinking maybe, just maybe, she finally realized I wasn't playing. Then I got an email from my bank, one of those emails requiring me to put in a one-time password, or to report immediately if I didn't initiate it, you know. Apparently, someone tried to access my trust fund. They failed the security check, but the fact that they even tried had me ready to explode. I called the bank immediately. The woman on the phone was super professional, but when I asked who tried to access my account, she hesitated. It was a woman claiming to be your sister. I almost dropped my phone. Lisa. Lisa actually called my bank, pretending to be me, and tried to get access to my inheritance. I was shaking. My heart was pounding. I asked the bank lady what exactly Lisa said, and get this. She tried to cry her way through it, told them she lost her wallet, had an emergency, and was trying to access her funds. She really thought she could just steal my money. I drove straight to her apartment, didn't call, didn't text. I just showed up, ready to set that place on fire. She opened the door, looking exhausted, bags under her eyes, hair a mess. She wasn't expecting me. Good. Are you insane? I shouted. You really tried to steal from me? She didn't even look guilty, just annoyed. I wouldn't have had to if you just helped me. The way I almost lost my mind in that hallway. You are unbelievable. You slept with my husband, you ruined my life, and now you think you can just steal from me? She rolled her eyes. Oh my God, can you stop with the victim act? It's been years. Get over it. I swear to God, I almost blacked out. I stepped closer, voice low. You're lucky I don't call the cops. That got her attention. Her face changed real quick. You wouldn't. Try me. She swallowed hard. I could tell she knew I wasn't playing. I should have stopped there. I should have turned around and walked away. But she pissed me off so bad I had to make sure she felt it. So I gave her one last look and said, Oh, and by the way, Brian's living with some 22-year-old bartender now. Guess you weren't enough for him either. Her face cracked. She tried to hide it, but I saw it. That moment when reality finally hit her. Brian never loved her. She threw her entire life away for him, and in the end, he did to her exactly what he did to me. I let that sink in for a second. Then I just turned around and walked away.